Hi, gang. It's Patrick.
And Adam.
Coming up on today's most magical episode, we recap our trip to Disney World for the 50th anniversary celebration. As always, we discuss the latest Disney news, and we close out the show with some quick D. All that and more on today's episode of Gays Do the D.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome.
Adam Iridescent Hummel.
Patrick, all unpacked, Kazuki?
No, because if you stay packed, you never have to get packed. You know?
Is that your mantra for traveling?
That is my mantra for Disney-specific traveling. Just always stay ready to go to Disney.
Never a need to even wash the clothes. Just keep them packed and you're ready to go.
That's absolutely right. Did you know that annual pass holders, and anyone I think, can purchase a locker, a storage locker within Disney, I believe, that you can just keep things there for your next trip?
Oh, that's actually a really smart idea.
It is a smart idea for people who go there quite frequently. I don't think I'm there just yet. I don't need to have, some belongings that are just at Disney, but I'm getting there. Adam.
It's very much in the realm of like new boyfriend leaving a toothbrush at his place.
That's 100% what it is. Disney, you're my new boyfriend. I'm into it. How are you, Adam?
Patrick, I'm going to tell you that I landed from our miraculous vacation that we're going to be talking about in this very episode. I landed and the fall allergies entered my head and things are crusty and dusty and musty and leafy dryness. It's all up in there, Patrick, and it's slowly working its way out.
Well, that just sounds like a delight. Just a delight.
So I apologize if I sound extra nasal in this episode. I don't even know how that's possible, but yes, in fact, I will probably sound extra nasally in this episode.
Ooh, we're bringing you fall sensuality in this episode.
Coming right out of my nose. How are you doing, Patrick?
Thank you for that visual. That was great. I am, I'm hanging in there, Adam. I'm hanging in there. A lot of our Tweedles may know already that once we landed, our dog got into some trouble, and we had to say goodbye to him unexpectedly this past week. Kind of the moment we landed, it all sort of went downhill. So that was an unexpected tragedy, and thank you to everybody who reached out and sent some condolences. It was very much needed. We're hanging in there. We're getting through it. We miss him very dearly. But on the upside, he will no longer be ruining episodes of Gays Do the D with his clicky-clacky paws.
Always a presence in the podcast episodes, those nails clicking on the floor above you and creating just the right ambiance for every single episode.
That's right. In fact, the last episode, I did clock some moments where I could hear Dare above us just clicking around. And so he will be part of GDTD history forever.
And I wouldn't be surprised if every once in a while he just pays us a little visit by clickety-clacking those nails in the background of some of our recordings.
I wouldn't be surprised either. God bless him. He was a wonderful dog, but also a bit of a butthole sometimes. A bit of a butthole.
He was so sweet. He used to lean into you when you'd pet him if he was standing up. He was just the sweetest greyhound ever.
He was a delight. He will be missed. And again, thank you to everyone who reached out, sending their condolences. It was really lovely to see.
Well, let's just transition, Patrick, shall we, from a sad topic, but a celebrated life in Dare, to two new patrons that we need to recognize and celebrate.
That's right. Since our last recording, two new Patreon family members have joined the ranks at GDTD Podcast. Robert and Christopher are our newest family members.
Welcome, Robert. Welcome, Christopher. We are happy to have you.
For those who don't know, but you probably know, you too can become part of our GDTD Patreon family for as little as $1 recurring a month. Head on over to gaysdothed.com, click on that donate button, and poof, you're in. You're in like Flynn.
Poofter, you're in.
You're in like Flynn Rider, you know?
There's a lot of directions I could go with this.
Mm-hmm. I think you know the one to go.
I'm going to keep it classy this episode, Patrick.
Why ever not? Keep it classy for Dare.
KICD.
that took me a lot longer than needed to really process that.
Even after I said it, I was still like, is that correct? I don't know.
It was almost a Kids Incorporated theme song. It was very close to that.
Well, Dare loved Kids Incorporated, didn't he?
He did. Who among us didn't, though?
Truly, truly. Yes, Robert, Christopher, thank you again for joining us. Anyone else out there who wants to join us, we'd be happy to have you. There's so many bonuses once you are a Patreon member, including Patreon-only giveaways.
In fact, we are going to be doing a Patreon giveaway right here on this very episode. Stay tuned for that. Beyond Patreon-only giveaways, we also have Patreon-only extra special episodes of Gaze Do the D called Gaze Do the D Raw and Uncut.
Raw and uncut.
Ooh, the sultry tones of Adam Iridescent Hummel.
Can you hear just that thin layer of mucus just lubricating those smooth tones?
I'll tell you what, I could feel it. I could feel it in my headphones.
Yep, you're welcome, Patrick. You're welcome. Moving on, we also have a brand new Tweedle we need to recognize.
We sure do. Jamie recently became a listener of Gaze Do the D, and I'll tell you what, in a very special fashion, Jamie noticed us in the park, saw our t-shirts, and went, let me do some investigating. Jamie, you are far more motivated than I am. I would not have done a thing, but you did the work for us.
She did, indeed. You can find Jamie on Instagram at Batgirl_478.
I love it. I love it. In fact, Jamie sent us a lovely note. Adam, would you like to read that to our listeners?
I surely would. Jamie says, hello. I just wanted to drop a note to say hi. I was at Disney World for the 50th anniversary, and while I was in line for Remy's Ratatouille Adventure, I saw this big group of guys, which is better than a group of big guys, but I guess we're that too. Anyway, she saw a big group of guys taking a picture and noticed one of the shirts said Gaze Do the D. I was intrigued, so I did some Googling and I found your podcast. I listened to the first episode. Oh, Jamie. And right away, I feel very connected to you all. I related when Patrick said he took his first trip to Disneyland as a young child, but didn't make it to Disney World until 2014. My first trip to Disneyland was in 1984 when I was 5 years old, and it's some of my first memories. I was lucky in that I got to go to Disneyland a lot growing up because my uncle lived in California. I'm in Oklahoma, so most of our vacations were to visit him. I always wanted to go to Disney World too, but I didn't make it there until 2016. Anyway, I'm very excited to discover another Disney podcast, and I look forward to catching up on your episodes.
Well, Jamie, thank you. I wish that we had had the opportunity to meet you while in the parks. We would have given you a pin. But
Yes.
Thank you for discovering us. We can't wait to hear from you. Hopefully you'll be a frequent contributor to the podcast.
The power of those t-shirts, Patrick.
They reach people, Adam. They reach the masses.
That's right. So, Jamie, thanks for giving us a shot, and hopefully we'll be able to connect in a Disney park sometime very soon.
Jamie, I'll be thinking of you next month when I see Oklahoma as it rolls into town here in Minneapolis.
A truthful representation of the state as it is today.
It absolutely is, which actually reminds me, Adam, I don't know why I forgot about this because it happened yesterday. I just saw Frozen last night.
Oh, here we go. Tell us all of your thoughts on the touring production of Disney's Frozen.
In 30 seconds or less, we have a long episode ahead of us. I really liked it. It was very charming. It's a great show, a great introductory show to anyone's first Broadway show ever. There were so many children there, which added to the magic, I feel like.
Sure. Yeah, no, for sure. I had the privilege of seeing it on Broadway with the OBC, as they say, the original Broadway cast, and it was a delightful show. Some interesting changes that they made to it. They kind of expanded on... What is the name of the character who runs the sauna and the shop? What's that character's name? Do we remember?
I always want to call him Oaken, but I don't know if that's his name or his last name or just where he is, but I always refer to him as Oaken.
There's a very interesting number at the top of Act 2. Is it still in the show, Patrick?
Well, here's what I'll say. Never would I have thought that I would see a nude dance in a Disney show.
Yes, so the number is in fact still in the show.
It is, and it's a delight. It's a real great way to open Act Two. And we had the privilege of seeing, what's her name? Carolyn Bowman, I believe is her name. She's incredible. She's fantastic. Her voice is second to none.
Wildly talented, that one. So if you have a chance, if it's swinging through your area, both Patrick and I recommend you check out Disney's Frozen, the stage musical.
We sure do. We sure do. And fun fact, the woman who's playing Anna right now on tour is from Minneapolis.
Shut your beautiful mouth.
I will not, or at least she's from Minnesota. I don't know Minneapolis proper, but she is a Minnesota gal.
We'll take it.
We did, but she left us. She left us very quickly. As soon as that Disney dollar came knocking at her door, she said, bye. Goodbye, Guthrie.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed the show, Patrick. And speaking of shows, did you check out last week's episode, folks?
Boy, did I. I know you're talking to our Tweedles, but I also listened to it again. I love doing our Walt Quizneys, but Jeff was so much fun because he is Jeff, I'm sorry to tell you, you're such a Disney nerd. It's delightful.
He's a Disney nerd, for sure. We were joined by Jeff, who you can find on Instagram at the Disney Parks Teacher. If you haven't had the opportunity yet, go back and check out that episode. You just might learn something and have a little fun along the way.
You will indeed. And congratulations, Jeff, on running the London Marathon. You completed it. The pictures were amazing. Congratulations to you. That is a feat that I will likely never understand.
I heard that instead of giving you cups of water, they give you cups of tea along the route.
It's true. It's just Earl Grey, hot, scalding Earl Grey tea.
Just throwing it at you while you're running.
That's how we would run a marathon. That's for sure.
And Patrick, that takes us right into the big announcement. Some of you already know this because you follow us on Instagram, but we did have 5 winners of our $50 Disney gift card giveaway that we were giving away. Oh, Adam, you are a wordsmith while we were in Walt Disney World.
Why don't you just take a break, Adam? Take a break and I'll take it from here.
I swear it's the allergies, or maybe the allergy pills. Hello.
Ooh, take a little glass of wine with that and call it a night. I'm interested. Yes, indeed. We had a lot of fun meeting so many people, throwing pins at them. It was great.
Only a few filed lawsuits, so thank you for that.
It got a little dicey when we brought out the T-shirt launcher and just started shooting pins at people.
Yeah.
Maybe we didn't think it through, but it happened. It happened, everybody.
Choices were made. We regret none of them. But here we go. We're going to run down who we gave pins to, who posted on Instagram, and who won the $50 Disney gift card. So on day 1, Dave, who you can find on Instagram at Dave Rose Actor, won. On day 2, we actually had 2 winners. That was on October 1st, the official 50th anniversary of Walt Disney World Resort. Michael, who you can find on Instagram at Mikey Likes It, and at Ear Candy Creations, won the $50 Disney gift cards that day. On day 3, Eric, who you can find on Instagram at Insta Eric K, won the $50 Disney gift card. And our last winner during our trip was Brianna, who you can find on Instagram at Brianna's Disney Life.
Thank you. And congratulations to all of our winners. And thank you to everyone who posted. You all left some really, really lovely and creative photos and messages that it was so much fun. It added a little magic to our trip, actually.
It certainly did. That was one of the highlights, was getting to meet all of you, people who we hadn't even spoken to on social media still would come up to us and say, I listened to you. I'd love a pin. It was just very, very sweet.
Beyond that, we probably have some new listeners because a lot of people, as we know from Jamie, saw our shirts in the parks, came up to us, said hello, and hopefully are brand new listeners.
Well, let me just take this opportunity to beg you to rate, review, and subscribe.
If you don't do it, we still like you. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. But it does help us out if you do it.
We're really desperate for any kind of attention. Yeah.
That's absolutely true. Absolutely true. Well, moving on, Adam, we have some more giveaways to do right here on the podcast. That's right. We announced it before. All of our Patreon family members were automatically entered to win one of these pins, and one lucky winner will receive both the pin and a $50 Disney gift card. That's right. We have 5 winners in total, one being the grandest winner of them all. But you're all grand. So are we ready to announce our Patreon-only giveaway winners?
Yes, if I may tack on one thing. Speaking of pins, they're actually getting 2 pins.
That's right. That's right. You're getting the official GDTD pin, and you're also getting a cute little lapel pin to go with it, a complimentary pin.
Maybe you want to use it to attach a scarf around your neck. Maybe you want to use it to attach a boutonniere to a suit coat. There are so many options for that lapel pin.
Take GDTD day to night. Start off with a lapel pin and then put the big brooch on your shoulder for later.
The brooch, yes.
That's what we should be calling it, the GDTD brooch.
Next year's brooches will be covered in crystals, I promise you.
Just like Spaceship Earth, we're going to put teeny crystals in every corner of it. I love this journey for us. All right, you've all been waiting for it. Here it goes. The 5 winners in no particular order are Jamila, who became a Patreon family member in April 2021. Drew is our next winner. Drew became a Patreon member in September 2020. We have Laddie, our next winner, who became a Patreon member in June of 2020. Moving on, Kenny is our next winner, who became a Patreon member in July of 2019. And last but not least, drum roll, please.
God.
Pins is Ryan. Ryan became a Patreon family member in October of 2019 and is the lucky winner of both pins and a $50 Disney gift card. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Adam, Ryan is a recent Florida resident now, so he could use it in the parks.
I have no idea who you're talking about.
Great. Excellent.
Oh, Ryan. I know which Ryan you're talking about now. Yes, Ryan, of course.
We do want to keep all of you sort of anonymous just for your own, I don't know, safety. Is that the word? Because you will be harassed once people know that you're donating to GDTD. So we're not giving away your information, but we are giving you these pins and prizes. Congratulations, everybody. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being constant reminders of why we do this. You have donated your time and your resources to helping GDTD continue forward.
And we'll be reaching out to each of you for your home address. And Patrick and I will be personally delivering the pins to your front door. We actually are going to stare through some windows first and just see if you notice us. And then when you scream, after you're terrified, we will give you your pins.
That's right. It'll be like an 80s movie where we'd be standing outside with boomboxes on our shoulders and playing music and little dance. Maybe we'll throw some pebbles at your window. Who can say?
It's going to be an experience that only we can provide to you, our lovely Patreon winners.
And that's just one of the benefits of becoming a Patreon family member is real-time stalking.
You're welcome. I know we typically say thank you, but this is an opportunity for us to say you're welcome.
That's right. We risk incarceration every day for you.
And now that big announcement is over, Patrick, that means it's time to talk about some Disney history. In fact, we're going to be talking about things that happened this week in Disney history.
That's right. That's right. This week in Disney history, here we go, Adam. Just 8 years ago, on October 15th, 2013, in celebration of the 15th anniversary of the Disney World version of Fantasmic, a new technology is introduced to guests. Glow with the Show ears debuted for the very first time. This new tech, when it worked correctly, allowed specially enhanced Mickey Mouse ears to interact with Fantasmic, changing colors along with the show. Now, the next evolution of this tech will soon be released in the form of Magic Band Plus, which we'll be talking about in the news a little bit later.
Glow with the Show. I would say RIP. I don't think a lot of people feel RIP for Glow with the Show, but gosh darn it, Disney will not let it die. They're like, we're going to make this work if it kills us.
That's right. That's right. And it did. It did kill several people, I think. No, people are very rest in giving my money back for those years.
It was a moment for sure. It was a moment that we will all cherish.
Okay. It is part of Disney history. That is for sure. That is
Disney
for sure.
lore. Yes.
Disney haunting history. Well, moving on, Adam. 108 years ago, on October 11th, 1913, comic book writer, artist, editor, and publisher Joe Simon was born in Rochester, New York. Simon was the first editor of Timely Comics, which would later evolve into Marvel Comics. Simon, along with artist Jack Kirby, are credited as creating Captain America.
Thank you for your work.
Thank you so much for bringing us Chris Evans.
It never would have happened had the comic not been created. So yes, thank you. Thank you for Chris Evans in those sweatpants.
That's right. That's right. Joe Simon drew so the rest of us could drool later on. I think that's the saying.
That's how it goes. Yeah.
Moving on to our last item, 118 years ago, on October 16th, 1903, animator, director, and Disney legend Hamilton Luske was born in Illinois. Luske joined the Disney Studios in 1931, and he was the very first animator appointed to work on Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. He would go on to work on Pinocchio, Alice in Wonderland, Cinderella, Peter Pan, and Mary Poppins, for which he won an Academy Award for Best Special Visual Effects.
I appreciate whenever you educate us on these animators, Patrick, but also it really does make me re-examine everything I'm doing with my life and kind of creates a stark contrast with the kind of lazy life I'm leading.
Listen, you gave away 5 gift cards during our vacation. So that's God's work, Adam.
You're right. Disney legend calling. Hello.
Thank you for your service, and thank you, Hamilton Luske, for your service.
Fantastic little bits of Disney history this week, Patrick. Thank you for putting those together. And now we get to head on into the Disney news.
I'm very excited. I have some hot garbage to talk about, Adam.
Ooh.
I'm real excited about it.
Let me down another Benadryl, have another sip of wine, and let's get into this.
Let's dive in.
You know, Patrick, we've been talking an awful lot about Walt Disney World on this podcast.
We put the awful in an awful lot.
So it's time we shine a little light and magic on Disneyland Resort, because last Thursday, Disneyland Resort President Ken Potrock announced the next Disneyland Resort ambassador team, Mark Everett King Jr. and Natalie Guzman. These 2 cast members will continue the tradition started when Walt Disney selected Julie Rame as the first Disneyland ambassador in 1965. As Disneyland ambassadors, Mark and Natalie will represent thousands of Disneyland Resort cast members, making magic alongside them, leading and participating in cast events, sharing cast member stories through social media, and representing the resort in media interviews and community events. Currently, Natalie works in guest relations and is a VIP hostess. In 2010, she started her Disneyland Resort career at World of Disney. She's also been a traditions assistant and Disney University facilitator. She enjoys photography, drawing, and painting, and is a big fan of all things Star Wars. Mark is currently a stage manager in Disney California Adventure Park Attractions. He started his Disneyland Resort career in 2013 in food and beverage, was a test and adjust project lead in Avengers Campus, and a facilitator for Step Into the Magic. He volunteers in youth mentorship programs, and his hobbies include fashion, fitness, and of course, going to theme parks. Mark and Natalie will serve as the Disneyland Resort team, but are joining a truly global team as there are ambassadors at every Disney park around the world. They will begin their roles officially on January 1st, 2022, and you can follow them on Instagram at Disneyland Ambassador.
I love this. I truly love this. I love when Disney gives people who already are working with the company, who are going above and beyond their duties, and they give them just a little more recognition in leadership roles so they can really be that connection to parks guests of how much they actually do love Disney.
Yeah, it's a great way to kind of raise up those that are so enthusiastic about what Disneyland Resort is doing. And there is the cutest TikTok video of them when they are announced at the official ceremony. And I got the impression that they didn't really know that they were going to be the ambassadors. So it is such a magical moment to see them fully break down in tears and jump up and down and scream when their names are called.
Adam loves watching people cry. It's true. He loves it.
Tears of joy, tears of sadness. As long as you're crying, I'm into it. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Fun fact, both you and I have applied to be ambassadors of Gays Do the D and have been denied every single year.
Interesting. Yeah, because we run this show and yet we still aren't quite there yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we can't be trusted to be the face of Disney or GDTD podcast.
No.
Disney Parks will be introducing some new interactive technology for guests in celebration of the 50th anniversary. First up, remember when Disney teased that Magic Bands would slowly be replaced by the Magic Mobile service? Apparently, they were just kidding, because their newest technology, Magic Band Plus, will be available starting in 2022. The new bands will offer all of the same services as before, like entry into the parks, your resort room, and the ability to quickly pay for food and merch. The bands will be plussed with new features that will interact with items and locations throughout the parks. For instance, you'll be able to locate virtual bounties in Black Spire Outpost. Your band will interact with the newly added Disney Fab 50 character collection in the parks. And it will light up during Harmonious at Epcot and Disney Enchantment at Magic Kingdom. The new Magic Band Plus will be available for purchase in 2022 and will be available at discounted rates for Disney Resort Hotel guests and new and renewing annual pass holders. Magic Band Basic will still be available for purchase at a lower cost, as will the free Keys to the Kingdom cards.
So just so I'm clear, Patrick, no more free Magic Bands going forward. If you want either Magic Band Basic, as you referred to it, or Magic Band Plus, you will be paying for those either prior to your trip or during your trip.
That's exactly correct, because the Magic Mobile service and the Keys to the Kingdom cards are free. So you do have options to not pay for anything, but any Magic Band, regardless of Basic or Plus, will be at a cost to you.
I'm very curious to see how people react to Magic Band Plus. I am always overwhelmed at any given moment on a Disney trip. I don't know if I need additional stimulation around my wrist.
They also look like they weigh roughly 5 to 6 pounds.
Yes.
It's a real investment in your day and and in your tiredness level at the end of the day. One arm will be very fit at the end of your trip.
Imagine the biceps on the one arm. Yes.
Carpal tunnel syndrome Magic Bands. I like it. Well, next up, the My Disney Experience app has been updated with an interactive 50th anniversary section, which now includes an option to give a cast compliment right from the app. Just search cast compliment within the app, where you will be able to select a reason for the compliment and the location that the cast member was in. Now, I will say it's a smidge meh right now, so there is not an option to enter in the cast member's name or any additional information that made your interaction magical. You can, however, still do that via Twitter by using the hashtag CastCompliment and tagging WDW Guest Service. You can also send an email to guest.services@disneyworld.com, or you can always go to any guest service location within the parks and resorts to relay your message. Disney has stated that they will continue to evolve the Cast Compliment tech within the app.
I'm very happy to see additional opportunities for people to compliment cast members. Another option, too, is, and we did this on our trip, if you're in a restaurant, say, or a location where you know there's a manager on staff, just walk right up to that manager, won't you, and tell that person how much you enjoyed your server or that cast member.
Absolutely, absolutely. This is the only reason you should ask to see the manager.
Yeah, what's the opposite of a Karen? It's an opposite Karen moment.
We're always walking that fine line between a Karen and a compliment, you know? Well, moving on, Disney World annual pass holders will soon experience a few enhancements to their parks visits. Pass holders who have linked their annual pass to their My Disney Experience app will experience a unique color and sound sequence at the entry points when using their Magic Bands to enter a park. Also, within the app, pass holders now have a digital badge associated with their name. There will also be a pass holders buzz section within the app featuring exclusive videos, articles, offers, and events. And there is now a Mickey Mouse Magic Mobile Pass design available just for pass holders. So for $1,200 a year, you can now make the Mickey Touchpoint turn a different color, which really pays for itself, I feel.
And there's a sound, Patrick.
And there's a sound as well. So thank you, Disney, for that plus.
Do you get to choose your sound?
I don't think so. I think it's randomized.
What if yours is like a fart, Patrick?
What do you mean? What if it's just going to be that every single time? Which I'm here for. I'm totally fine with that. And last, but certainly most confusing, we now have pricing and a start date for the much anticipated Disney Genie. The new parks feature will launch this October 19th within Walt Disney World. Disney Genie will be launched within the My Disney Experience app. Now, as reported before, all guests are able to use the free features within the app, which allow guests to customize a day in the Disney parks based on their interests. You will also be able to plan a day that should maximize your time in the parks by sending you to attractions with the lowest wait times. There are also 2 add-on features to the app during your park's visit: Disney Genie Plus and the individual Lightning Lane selection options. Let's start with the Disney Genie Plus. So for $15 a day per guest, you can select an attraction within the park one at a time and use the Lightning Lane to bypass the standby queue. Your first selection will be available starting at 7 a.m. Once you have redeemed your Lightning Lane selection, or once the arrival window has passed, you are then able to make your next selection. The selections are fairly extensive, with over 40 options spanning across all 4 parks. A few examples of attractions that utilize this option are Big Thunder Mountain, Peter Pan's Flight, Haunted Mansion, Soarin', Spaceship Earth, Tower of Terror, Slinky Dog, Dinosaur, and Kilimanjaro Safaris, just to name a few. The other option, the individual Lightning Lane selection, is an option available to any guest regardless of if you paid for Genie Plus or not. This option utilizes the Lightning Lane at top-tier attractions at an a la carte price. Guests may purchase a Lightning Lane selection up to 2 times per day. Attractions for this option are Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, Space Mountain, Frozen Ever After, Remy's Ratatouille Adventure, Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, Rise of the Resistance, Flight of Passage, and Expedition Everest. Now, Disney has decided to make pricing for this as confusing as humanly possible. Basically, the prices vary per attraction per day, likely based on park attendance. So, for example, now this is real-time data, the Lightning Lane price for Remy's Ratatouille Adventure will be $9 per person on October 19th and $11 per person on October 23rd. Also on October 19th, the price for Expedition Everest will be $7 per person, and Rise of the Resistance will be $15 per person, and neither will change price on the 23rd, as Remy's will. What? Who can say? Oh boy. So, Disneyland will also be launching their Disney Genie service within the already existing Disneyland app. Though we have not been given an exact date yet, I assume they are waiting to see exactly how much of Disney World catches fire on that first day.
And we know some of the attractions for Disneyland too, right? I mean, it kind of mirrors what's going on in the Magic Kingdom in Walt Disney World. And then obviously DCA has its Genie Plus attractions. And then for the a la carte Lightning Lane selections in Disneyland, it's Star Wars Rise of the Resistance, and in DCA, it's Radiator Springs Racers and Web Slingers.
That's right. There may be a couple more. They haven't officially released that list yet, but it'll at least be those 3. And the features will be the same as in Disney World, as you sort of alluded to. However, the price for Disney Genie Plus will be $20 per day per guest. Now, interestingly, Disneyland is offering unlimited PhotoPass photos for every day you utilize the Disney Genie Plus there, which may explain the $5 difference in price from Disney World's version, which is not offering a PhotoPass option. But fear not. Fear not, everybody. The individual Lightning Lane selection prices will be just as confusing as they are in Disney World. However, Disneyland has not yet released just how confusing the prices will be as of yet. And it should be heavily noted that standby queues are still, of course, available for every attraction, meaning you do not need to purchase anything beyond a park ticket for an opportunity to experience an attraction. And lastly, I also want to add in that word on the street is that the DAS, that's the Disability Access Service, will also be added to the Disneyland and My Disney Experience apps, allowing guests in need of the service to sign up for it prior to arriving in the parks. No set date on this extended service has been announced yet.
Always good to end on some crystal clear good news, right?
That's what Disney's about, just giving you every detailed piece of information. Well, nope, that's just simply not true.
You know, our pal Chris from Wishful Thinking couldn't help but chime in on these recent announcements. He sent us a little DM via Instagram stating, and he gave us permission to say this. Chris says, adding new features to the oh-so-glitchy My Disney Experience app, particularly features which could make or break your day, does feel a bit like we're prepping for Dumbo's first flying rehearsal with the clowns and the big tent, which could quite easily collapse on us all, end quote.
Yeah, accurate. That is accurate. I will say the My Disney Experience app is getting better. It is slowly but surely getting better, but it is wont to crash at a moment's notice, especially when there's just so many people in the parks using it at the same time. It tends to slow down a lot. So they're just going all in. They're going all in on it.
Maybe they want it to die. Maybe this is like their attempt at just fully killing it. No, Patrick, you know, you make a really good point. You don't need to get Genie Plus, right? So if we can all make a pact, if we're all not feeling it, all of us Tweedles, everyone who's going to be in the parks, we can be the ones to bring Genie Plus down. If we're not using it, they're not going to keep it around.
That's right. We are the new Rise of the Resistance right here, right now.
It was Agatha all along, and it appears it will be Agatha once again, as Variety is reporting that a WandaVision spin-off starring Kathryn Hahn is in development at Disney Plus from Marvel Studios. According to the October 7th exclusive, Hahn would reprise the role of Agatha Harkness in the series, which is described by sources as a dark comedy, though exact plot details remain under wraps. WandaVision head writer Jacques Schaefer will serve as the writer and executive producer on the project. Should the spinoff go forward, it would be the first project Schaefer has set up with Marvel since she signed an overall deal with them and 20th Television in May. In WandaVision, Han started out playing the role of Agnes, Wanda and Vision's nosy neighbor, before it was revealed that she was in fact Agatha, a powerful witch. In the Marvel comics and the series, Agatha is shown to have survived the Salem witch trials and is more than a match for Wanda, aka Scarlet Witch. When viewers last saw her in the finale of WandaVision, Wanda trapped Agatha in Westview by using her powers to force her to revert to her Agnes persona. The show, the first live-action Marvel series to debut on Disney Plus, was met with widespread acclaim upon its debut. WandaVision ultimately racked up 23 Emmy nominations, including one for Han for Best Supporting Actress in a Limited Series. One of the show's wins came in the Best Original Music and Lyrics category for the song Agatha All Along, which was used as part of the reveal that Han's character was not who she appeared to be. Patrick, what is your level of excitement on the meter for this potential series?
Like a 3, I guess.
Okay.
JK. I mean, 3 out of 2. A 3 out of 2.
It's blowing you away.
It is actually. I love Kathryn Hahn. She can do no wrong in my eyes. So I want this to be an ongoing series that lasts for years and years and years.
I agree. Yeah. And I think she's found a particular following amongst the gays. The gays' reaction on Twitter when this was announced was atomic, I would say.
It's true. Yeah. Kathryn Hahn is pictured next to the word camp, I think, in the dictionary. And I can't go a day without seeing the Agatha wink pop up somewhere in a DM or instant message.
She's surpassed acting and become a meme. How much higher can you go after that?
That's true. That's true. I usually see it when someone says, yeah, I'll meet you for dinner. Agatha wink. They never show up. They never show up, Adam. Adam, I'm starting us out with some disappointment as my magic band no longer unlocks doors.
Wouldn't that be something if your magic band unlocked your bathroom door? Like when you really needed to get in there, it would just chime and it would light up and you'd be allowed in to the bathroom.
Are you banned from using restrooms in your own home?
There have been incidents, and I don't want to get too heavily into it right now, but Matthew has put his foot down. Yes.
Great. We'll take this offline and discuss it later. But it's true, Adam. We are home from our trip. We are 1 week home from our trip now, and 1 week sadder, I think.
Totally agree, Patrick. I was reflecting on the trip as I was putting together notes for this episode, and not to blow my wad right up front, but this was one of the more magical experiences I've had during a visit to Walt Disney World, and I think a large part of that was the excellent company we kept.
I would agree. I would agree with all of that, except never use that phrase ever again in conjunction with Disney. How very dare you? But yeah, this was, upon reflection, this was just an epic trip. It was so much fun. We had more laughs than I have had it in a very long time. Much needed hugs. So many great interactions with a lot of our Tweedles, friends we've not seen in a long time, friends we've met for the first time. It was truly magical. And like you said, because of that, because of the interactions, Disney, yes, great. We'll talk about it a little bit more later, but it was really the human interactions that we had that made this trip so special.
I absolutely agree. Yeah, I will be reflecting on this trip for a long time to come. It was so great to see you and your husband, Dan, and we were joined by my partner, Matthew, and then another couple, Paul and Bart, who have been guests on this podcast before. So it was a group of the six of us that were really our core group.
That's right. And all of us have been friends for quite some time. But this is the first time we've all been lucky enough to sync our vacations together and be on a trip as one unit, as one gaggle of gays, as we were referring to ourselves on this trip. It was really great. And Tweedles, you may or may not know, Adam and I have really and truly not seen each other face to face in a very long time. And the last time we saw each other, we were 6 feet apart, wearing masks and throwing gifts at each other, basically. So this was very special. It was very emotional. Tears were shed a little bit. So it was great. It was such a wonderful experience. And as I said, that we were lucky enough to have together.
Yeah, we commented on this at lunch one day, but I think our little group just traveled so well together. We all had the same kind of expectations, I guess, when it came to what we wanted out of this trip. And a majority of what we wanted was just time together in this place that we loved.
Absolutely, absolutely. We all sort of took reins at different times during the trip of what we wanted to do, who wanted to be the leader of that moment, who wanted to fall back and just follow the group. It was really great. And I think what helped is that we sort of all agreed to approach this trip with patience, with understanding, and with grace for one another, because as everyone knows, we are all still dealing with COVID right now, and it could have been a very stressful trip. It didn't turn out to be that way, at least not for me. But there were moments of stress for all of us, I think, during the trip at one point or another, and we all just had grace with one another, and that really made it bearable. I'll say, I'm just kidding. No, but it made it made it a really lovely trip.
Yeah, I think it speaks volumes that I didn't slap you once, Patrick.
I don't think you remember doing it, but you slapped me. You slapped me, Adam. JK.
So, Patrick, should we kind of just walk through our trip chronologically and just kind of lay out where we went, what we did, and talk about really the list of new things that we were able to experience together in Walt Disney World?
Well, I'd like to continue talking about how good of people we are and how much we love one another.
Yep.
But yeah, sure, let's get into it. Let's get into the trip of it all. And let's do it. I think you're right. I think let's do it chronologically so we can relive our last week in Disney.
Well, I sneaked down a bit earlier than you and Dan. I was joined by Paul and Bart, and so Matthew and I went down a day ahead of you. And we were all staying at the Pop Century Resort, which was a first for me. I've never stayed at Pop Century. That's a fantastic resort.
Don't you think it really does offer just like a level up from the All-Star resorts, which no shade on the All-Star resorts, but this is very comparably priced to the All-Star resorts, and you just get a little bit more of a plus experience.
Truly, if you're looking for a bit of an updated resort, the rooms have been refurbished. They are very clean, very streamlined. There's still wonderful Disney theming around every corner, but it's just kind of a bit more upgraded, as you said, than the All-Stars. Again, All-Stars are great, but Pop Century is just that much more special, just a little bit turned up.
That's right. If it's within your budget, I say go for it. If it's available, try it out. See what you like. It being on the Skyliner is hands down paid for in itself.
Fantastic. That Skyliner connection, we used it several times on our trip, and it is amazing. So as I said, we went down a bit early, and we just had a very quiet first day, which I've become a huge proponent of. There's obviously the thrill of like getting off the plane and going to the parks. There's something so special about that. But my old gay bones, Patrick, enjoy a softer entry into a Disney resort experience. So we just hung out at the resort. We relaxed for a bit, got changed, and headed off to the California Grill at the top of the Contemporary Resort because we were fortunate enough to land a dinner reservation there. So we were able to watch the final performance of Happily Ever After from the Contemporary deck and then enjoy dinner at the California Grill. And I had never been to the California Grill, and it was delicious.
Isn't it just? It is, I think I've said this before, it is expensive, to be sure, but it is one of the few places within Disney where the price matches the flavor.
Totally agree. So if you are able to afford that experience, both Patrick and I recommend it. And it was during that evening that I ran into Chris from Wishful Thinking, who's been on this podcast multiple times. It was my first meeting in person with him. He is absolutely delightful. And as a fun kind of added bonus, while we were watching Happily Ever After, Chris's dinner companion was his friend Brandon, who actually performed in the soundtrack for Happily Ever After.
Amazing. What a special night that must have been for him to see the last showing of Happily Ever After, knowing that you can hear his voice in it.
Yeah, it must have been a great kind of send-off for him to say goodbye to that really beloved piece of Disney history that he was a part of.
And my hope is that he sang it at the top of his lungs during the show.
Right into my ear, right into my left ear. And I said, thank you, Brandon. That voice, though.
Fantastic. You don't have to go through the full menu of everyone in your group as you were eating, but what did you have at California Grill?
So many cocktails.
Great. So you don't remember what you had?
I truly don't remember what I had. It was delicious, and there was a very special pistachio souffle for dessert, Patrick. That was phenomenal. So I remember that, and I remember enjoying my meal immensely. So I'll be back. When I can go back, I'll go back.
Fantastic. For what it's worth, I always recommend the fish there. The fish is so on point at the California Grill.
That's what I had. I had the fish, yes. I believe it was a halibut.
That's exactly what I had when I was there.
And it was delicious, yes. In fact, everyone at our table fully enjoyed their meal. It was a great experience overall. The service was fantastic as well.
Good. I'm glad to hear it. And so I imagine after that, you all went, you know what? We can't experience anything else without Patrick and Dan being here. So let's go home and take some sleeping pills and wake up the next day.
So many sleeping pills, yeah. In fact, we said lights out until Patrick and Dan get here, which was that Thursday. And we headed to Animal Kingdom.
That's true. So you all started your day a little bit before we did. We landed around noon on that Thursday prior to the 50th and then arrived at Animal Kingdom around 2:30-ish. So what did you experience prior to us getting there? Everything, I imagine.
Well, a common theme on this trip and something we were not prepared for were the lower crowds. Like I think both of us, Patrick, were expecting madness, right? Like just heavy crowds and kind of the inability to get on certain attractions because of the number of people that were in the parks on any given day. But we learned very early that first day that the crowds were quite low, especially in Animal Kingdom that day. And so we were basically able to do everything that we wanted to do prior to your arrival, which was so fantastic because then once you and Dan arrived, we were able to circle back and do everything once again.
Yeah, that's true. Dan and I were a little bit nervous that we were going to get there sort of at peak time, usually for crowds and not be able to really do much. But boy, were we incorrect. As you said, we got into the parks. The first thing I should say we did was you so smartly got us a little reservation, a walk-up reservation for the Nomad Lounge, and we got to start our trip there.
No better way to start your trip, right? Just to have a cocktail and a little nosh and then head off into the park.
That's exactly what happened. We did not have a confusing service there at all.
There was a waiter who, it was definitely his first day on the planet, right?
Who can say? Under his ear, God bless, he was trying his hardest, and and everything was rectified by the end of the drink nosh experience, so it was fine. But it was odd, but it was a great way to start the trip. We just sort of, as you said, eased our way into our park stay by just meeting up with all of you, having some cocktails, and then high-kicking our way into the parks.
And the wait times, I was shocked. Like, Flight of Passage was a 20-minute wait, basically a walk-on.
Yeah, after our drinks, we were like, let's get on Flight of Passage. Let's just maybe end our day in line at Flight of Passage, because who knows what to expect. But strangely, nobody was there. We basically walked from the beginning of the line all the way onto the attraction itself.
And that just continued throughout the park. Like, we were able to get on Dinosaur, the Safari, Everest. We basically just did a big circle all around Animal Kingdom, and low wait times. I don't want to rub it in everyone's face, but I was shocked, Patrick. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, it was really unbelievable. We were all just sort of like, what is happening right now? Is everyone resting up and expecting crazy crowds for tomorrow for the 50th and just don't want to deal with it today? Who can say? But thank you for staying home, everybody, because we had a truly perfect day in Animal Kingdom.
We did, and it wrapped up with dinner at Tiffin's, which, Patrick, you had never been to Tiffin's before.
This was my very first experience at Tiffin's, and it will certainly not be my last experience at Tiffin's.
Delicious food all around. This was my second time dining at Tiffin's, and we planned it out so our reservation began 10 minutes prior to the park closing, so we were able to have a very full day in Animal Kingdom and then sit down for a wonderful dining experience in the restaurant.
Absolutely true. We literally did every attraction you can experience, I believe, within Animal Kingdom, and then sat our tootsies down, threw our hair back, threw some drinks back, and had a delicious meal at Tiffin's. And we should say our server here at Tiffin's was extraordinary. Matt, we thank you for your absolutely perfect dinner service.
So amiable, so delightful, full of knowledge, had a history with the company, was just really a perfect server, the kind of server you dream about, because he's willing to kind of banter with you while you're dining and make it a really fun experience.
For sure. He knew how to read the room, which was fantastic. And we should say everybody who approached our table, whether they were a manager or a food runner, they were outstanding. I can't recommend Tiffin's enough.
So a phenomenal meal, and then we rolled ourselves out of there. So special too, Patrick, was my first time leaving Animal Kingdom with it fully closed. So we were the only ones, in that market area in front of the Tree of Life. We were taking pictures, and it was delightful to have a completely empty park all around us.
Yeah, it was really lovely. What a great idea you had so that we could experience that. And we didn't feel rushed out either. I know a lot of places sort of give you that feeling like, hey, thanks for stopping, but it's time to go home now. And not one person even gave us a side eye of like, can you leave, please? Everyone was very accommodating. They knew that people were just there to have a really lovely experience and an easy way home.
And we did just that thanks to our very own Disney bus. How often does that happen?
We were kings of the bus. That's true.
And that takes us into the next day, the official 50th anniversary of Walt Disney World Resort, October 1st. It was a Friday. We got up very early to head to Magic Kingdom.
That's right. That's right. Now, this is the day that we had absolutely no idea whatsoever what to expect. This was the day that we all sort of held hands and went, let's just be there for each other and figure it out as we go. We don't know what to expect. It could be wild. It could be mild. Who could say? But you're right. We started out very early. We took a quick glance over at the bus line and said, no, thank you. No, thank you to that.
And this was around like 5 o'clock in the morning or 5:30 in the morning, right?
Yeah, the night prior, we were asking a lot of cast members and getting many different answers about what to expect for the next day. And a lot of them did similarly say, we think the buses are going to start running at about 4:30. So if you want to be there right away, get up early, as we did. And this was our first moment of, as I've said before on the podcast, of advocating for ourselves and for our safety and going, that doesn't seem like it's for us. We're not going to get on the bus. We instead had the idea, smart or not, you decide later, to to get into a lift and head on over to the Contemporary Resort, where the plan was to then walk to the Magic Kingdom because it's right there next to the Contemporary.
That's right, but things didn't go quite as we planned.
Stay tuned next week for how it ended.
So when we pulled up into the Contemporary, we were going to be dropped off in front of the Contemporary, but the gatekeeper at the resort was like, no, you can't get dropped off at this time unless you're actually staying here or you have a reservation here. And then we thought to ourselves, now what?
Yeah, the directive was to have the Lyft driver take us over to the Ticket and Transportation Center and then take a ferry or a monorail over to Magic Kingdom. And we thought to ourselves, no. No, thank you. We're not going to do that. We avoided that on purpose. So listen up, everybody. We didn't do anything illegal, I think. But our Lyft driver did turn around and we left the Contemporary property. We were off property at the Contemporary, and we kindly asked him to drop us off at the nearest place he could stop. So he very graciously pulled over on the side of the road and let us out of his Lyft. We're not going to give you his name or his Lyft number because that was probably not something they should be doing. But it is what happened. It is what happened. And so then we then walked over to Magic Kingdom from the Contemporary side roads.
So sneaky. We're so sneaky and smart, aren't we?
We are. I'm not sure if we should have released that information, but that's what we did, everybody.
It's not a hot tip to do that, but that's what we did.
Can't recommend it. But it gave us a story for all of you.
It certainly did. So we were able to walk from the Contemporary to the Magic Kingdom through the security, which went very quickly, I thought.
Very quickly. I think from the moment we left the lift, we were basically within the Magic Kingdom, outside of the gates, within 15 minutes, I would say.
And as far as like the crowds were concerned, the crowd was basically from the entry gate all the way back to the docks where the ferry boats unload. So it was a substantial crowd, but I was actually kind of surprised it wasn't even larger.
Yes, it did seem big, but it didn't seem unbearable. As you said, it was sort of all the way back to, where the docks are, or sort of where the buses would drop you off as well. Once we got there, though, it didn't feel like people were encroaching on our space, if that makes sense.
Yes, and we were led into the Magic Kingdom, what would you say, maybe 30 minutes, 45 minutes after that, and it kind of held in the Main Street USA area for shopping.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe it was like 6:45 or 7 a.m. that we actually went through the turnstiles and were, poof, on Main Street.
And people were shopping, Patrick. Boy, oh boy, were people grabbing that merch.
Yeah, that's one way to describe it, Adam. That is definitely one way to describe it. This was moment number 2 of the trip for me, where I advocated for myself and anyone around me saying, oh, we're turning around. We are turning around and leaving this merch shop, the Emporium, I should say. That was a madhouse. It was uncomfortable and it was unnecessary, I thought.
Fully asses to elbows in that place, and just wildly crowded, and you couldn't even tell where the lines for the checkouts were because it would just kind of like wrap around the store. So you may have crossed through several lines while you were trying to grab merch. I was in there for about maybe 2 to 3 minutes, and I'm like, I'm tapping out.
Yeah, it was as though people were grabbing the last bottles of water prior to an emergency. It was really ridiculous. So instead, we smartly went over to the Main Street Confectionery, which is newly opened, and got a little cupcake from there.
That confectionery, though, it looks fantastic.
It's beautiful. They did a wonderful job with it. And that new popcorn station is so charming and smells so good. Love it.
Yeah, so we were able to just kind of meander our way down Main Street USA after that. We ran into some people that we knew, which was fantastic. So we kind of had this great little cluster of friends with us while we were waiting for the rest of the park to open. And very smartly submitted orders for Casey's because we knew that later on in the day it would probably be a madhouse for food. So we submitted our mobile orders for around noon for Casey's. So we at least knew that we would have that option available to us.
Yeah, that's a great thing to point out. A lot of people don't know this. So hot tip is that you can pre-order for whatever time you choose in the day. You don't have to mobile order for right here, right now. You can select it for at the end of the day, halfway through your day, whenever you want, as long as that time is available. So that's exactly what we did. We did lunch reservations, and then we noticed that they were letting people who were resort guests sort of slide into another section of Magic Kingdom toward Tomorrowland for early magic hours, basically. And those early magic hours were just us standing in one spot for a half hour.
We chose to kind of hold in position to wait for the opening ceremony show that was happening on the Castle Forecourt stage. So we kind of held just prior to that bridge over into Tomorrowland and had a great little view of the castle through the trees there.
We did, absolutely. And as you said, this was the first time the Castle Show was back here in Magic Kingdom in a very long time. And Adam, thoughts on that show?
It was more of a showlet, would you not say? It was a bit of a show. It was a show moment, a showment, perhaps. It was new. The Fab Five or Sensational Six, or maybe even more than that, probably, because I believe Chip and Dale were on the stage as well, came out in their 50th attire. They looked fantastic. But as far as like an actual show, I don't know. I leave it up to the woman who was standing next to us after it was over. She turned to us and said, "Is that it?"
Yeah, it's true. Here's what I would say about it. It's a cute show on any other day. I think that our expectations were at a level of, this is the 50th, literally the 50th anniversary. We sort of were hoping that a Bob Chapek would come out, or somebody from the Disney community would come out and acknowledge that it was a 50th anniversary. But lo and behold, they did not say one word about welcome to the 50th anniversary celebration. It was a little strange, I would say. I
agree. Yeah, I was hoping for a Josh DeMauro moment, and I was robbed of it, Patrick.
We were. So, in all honesty, yeah, that pre-show for the Parks Day was a bit of a letdown because it was the 50th. I think any other day, it's cute. It's fine. Go see it. It's an opportunity to see all your favorite characters in one spot.
But even then, we were still very lighthearted about it. Like, we were kind of laughing it off because we knew we had a full day in the Magic Kingdom to enjoy. And again, this is probably going to be a recurring theme throughout this segment, but so surprised by the relatively short wait times on very popular attractions.
I would go so far as to say almost no wait times on a lot of these attractions. It was absolutely bonkers. Now, here's where our expectations were absolutely destroyed and confused. I would say we don't need to go blow by blow throughout the entire day, but I would say, sort of to generalize, we expected to get on maybe 2 or 3 attractions all day long because we assumed that everyone would just be experiencing the parks all day long. And boy, were we wrong. Our very first ride was Space Mountain, and it was literally a walk-on attraction. You almost never see that for Space Mountain. So we experienced that within, I would say, 5 minutes of the park opening, and then went over to Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, expecting there to be a huge line. Again, we waited maybe 10 minutes, and we were completely confused and baffled about what was going on. And then we started looking around and noticing that there were lines, in fact, in the park. Were they for attractions? They were not. They were for popcorn buckets.
Yeah. People were really after that 50th anniversary merch, which I get, but we started hearing rumblings of people getting into altercations, I believe was the word, over the merchandise. And we quickly realized that There were very much kind of two camps in Magic Kingdom that day. One was fully going for the merch, and those were the really long lines and the long waits. But we were there more just to kind of enjoy the day and enjoy each other while we were there. And so we had a delightful day overall, just kind of hopping from attraction to attraction.
Yeah, absolutely. 100% agree with you. I would, in fact, say the camp that was going on attractions was far smaller than the camps that were getting in line for merch. There were people waiting hours and hours and hours for the merch, which is great. I am not judging at all. People, you get to have your own Disney day, and that's what they wanted to do. That's a special moment for them. But we decided not to do that. We went on the rides instead and had a great day. We went on, I would say, every single attraction within the Magic Kingdom before 4:00.
Yeah, it was shocking again and so enjoyable just being with our friends, being in the Magic Kingdom. It was really about celebrating our love of the Magic Kingdom on that day. And as I mentioned before, we had submitted our order for Casey's to get those corn dog nuggets, y'all, for lunch. And that was kind of our big wait for the day, right? Because the mobile ordering system was a bit backed up. So we were kind of hanging around by the hub grass for about an hour. I would say we were waiting an hour longer than our actual mobile order pickup time.
It sounds like the problem was that Casey's Corner overestimated how many people they could serve in any given time slot. And so when we did our check-in of I am here, prepare my food, it was about 45 minutes later that we got our food officially.
Piping hot, though, delicious as all get out.
Yeah, I'm glad it was Casey's Corner. We had a lovely lunch just sitting down right there near the hub grass, looking at the castle, listening to the Casey's Corner piano player. It was great. It was a wonderful experience other than having to wait a little longer than expected.
So after lunch, we did some more attractions. We met up with some more friends. And we ended up making a full day of it. We weren't really sure if we were allowed to leave the park or not. And we weren't sure if we were going to be able to get back in, more importantly, after we left. But we did end up hearing that they had capped off the park hopper option, right, Patrick? So they weren't allowing park hoppers into the Magic Kingdom after 2:00.
That is what the word on the street was for sure. Now that for me was a bit of a miss during the day. I wish that Disney had just officially made that decision and let all the park guests know that if you have a parks reservation, you can come and go as you please. We're not letting park hoppers in. That would have made, I think, our day a little bit more enjoyable because we would have absolutely made the decision to go back to the resort for a little nap or go somewhere else for a little snack so we could just sit down.
Yeah, great point. We probably would have taken that break, but as it turns out, we didn't. We did end up seeing a lot of sit-down shows later in the afternoon to kind of get off our feet for a bit. So there was a Hall of Presidents moment. There was a Country Bear Jamboree moment. We had dinner at Sleepy Hollow. We got some of those delicious spicy chicken waffles that we love. And we also had funnel cake for dessert because why not?
Why ever not? Why ever not? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to tell you, those are very shareable. We ordered 3, I think, and it served 8 people.
Totally shareable, and you don't leave feeling completely disgusting when you split it up like that. So that's a great tip. Sleepy Hollow is always a great option. And then pretty much after that, we hightailed it down Main Street by the train station to hang out for the official premiere of Disney Enchantment, the new nighttime spectacular at the Magic Kingdom.
Yes, we did. Now, this was maybe my first moment of the day or of the trip where I felt a little uncomfortable being around so many people. It was very crowded, I will say, and that's to be expected. It's the very first, the premiere night of this nighttime spectacular on the 50th anniversary. People were there, I would say, to see that show. Yes,
it was very crowded, completely packed all the way from the castle all the way down Main Street to the train station. Patrick, we got to see Disney Enchantment. Give you your thoughts.
We did get to see it. I liked it. I did not love it. I will be very honest about that. And I don't know if this has to do with I was just very tired at the end of the day. Maybe our spot to see it wasn't the greatest, but it was a good show. In my humble opinion, it did not reflect a 50th anniversary celebration moment.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. I think the overall message, which is You Are the Magic, and that's also like the name of the theme song for the show, I think that worked, but I found it a little underwhelming. I really didn't have that many expectations for it. I guess it was difficult for Disney and the Magic Kingdom, right? Because they were following up on Happily Ever After, which was such a loved nighttime spectacular and so kind of remarkable and joyous. This one didn't really seem to hit the highs of Happily Ever After. I would say it was more subdued. And there's a lot of just orchestrations and no vocal moments. There's just a lot of music happening and no singers on top of it.
Yeah, I would say it is Disney's most artistic moment in the Magic Kingdom for a nighttime spectacular, which to me is great, but it doesn't, we were talking about this a little bit, it doesn't sort of cap off your day on a high note. It sort of lulled me to sleep a little bit instead.
Sure.
And it was just like, okay, night-night, it's night-night time. What I'm looking for in a nighttime spectacular is to have my hair blown back. You know what I mean? I want opulence and extravagance, and this certainly did not deliver that.
It did not have the arc of Happily Ever After. It did not continue to keep building and building and building. There were moments that were so successful. I think there's a very strong Moana section that's really beautiful. And then, of course, it leads into How Far I'll Go. I thought that was really great. But overall, for me, the show didn't play to the back of the house. Now, as I said, we were standing at the end of Main Street by the train station, and the projections just weren't tailored to reach us. If you were standing closer to the castle, I'm sure they were great and very vibrant, but they were kind of smaller projections, if that makes sense. Like they were projecting on just areas of the castle and kind of changing the castle overall in theme, but then the characters were kind of very small in comparison to the castle itself. So for me, the projections were not as successful as Happily Ever After even. And what I'm looking for, here are my notes, everyone. What I'm looking for in a nighttime spectacular is more of a mood, or it doesn't even need to be very specific. I want it to be abstract and colorful. I want that castle to be lit up. I want it to be a complete theme that's changing as opposed to like various moments on the castle. And Disney Enchantment doesn't deliver in that aspect.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think it lacked a little bit of magic for me. It lacked that Disney storytelling magic. And as we've spoken about before, this is the first time that they have done projections down Main Street for the nighttime spectacular. And here are my notes for that. Unless you're on Main Street itself, you can't really experience it because it's so specific to that area. It was neat to see it light up, but from where we were standing, which was not that far beyond where Main Street ends, we couldn't tell what was happening on it. All we saw were lights.
Yeah, that's such a great point, Patrick. The reveal, the moment that Main Street lights up is very dramatic and impressive. But after that, it's really hard to call out the specifics of what's happening on the buildings on Main Street.
Yeah. So overall, it's a fine show, but it did not exceed my expectations, certainly. I don't even know that it met my expectations for what I wanted out of this show.
Agreed. Patrick, we are in agreement.
And I would say, to recap our 50th anniversary day, I would say that maybe is the overall theme. I think what made the day lovely and magical was the company that we had, all the people that joined our sort of, I don't want to say the word entourage, but here it is, our entourage as we were walking around. Sure. That's what made it magical. We made our day magical. Disney sort of did not give us that 50th anniversary feel, in my opinion. It seemed like any other day at Walt Disney World with low wait times.
I totally agree. Yeah. And I think that's something we called out, several episodes ago, where we said, you know what, if it's just a day in the Magic Kingdom and we're able to enjoy that, that'll be enough for us. And it was. We were able to enjoy each other's company. We were able to get on attractions very quickly and enjoy those. So overall, a successful day, but not necessarily a special day in regards to the 50th anniversary.
Right. I don't feel changed for having been in the Magic Kingdom on the 50th anniversary.
That's a perfect way to put it. Yeah, Patrick. Yeah.
Disney, I want you to change me. Change me.
So after that, as you can imagine, the crowds were ridiculous getting out, but we hightailed it back over to the Contemporary, grabbed some Ubers, and headed back to the resort. And that takes us to day number 3 during our trip, and that was Epcot. And that morning we actually got up and kind of took our time, had some breakfast in the dining hall of Pop Century before we headed to Epcot.
We sure did. We went into this Epcot day, again, not knowing what to expect, but we also knew that there aren't a lot of attractions in Epcot right now for which we needed to wait in line for. So we sort of decided to have a casual entrance into the day. That being said, we are a group of kind of early birds, so we were there for the early morning magic and entered the park through the International Gateway via the Skyliner, which is lovely. No one was there. It seemed like there was very few people, so much room for activities in the World Showcase that morning.
And we were lucky enough earlier that morning to score a pass for the virtual queue for Remy's Ratatouille Adventure. So we knew that we had that on the horizon to look forward to. But as Patrick said, it was, again, a very quiet day in Epcot. We headed to Soarin'. We did some Future World before kind of focusing more on World Showcase for the rest of the day.
That's right, yeah. And again, Soarin' was a walk-on. Absolutely no wait for that. Adam, what's your hot tip of where to sit on Soarin'?
B1, baby. If you have the opportunity when you reach the podium, before you kind of get into the queues right before the attraction, request to be put in row B1 because that's the very center of the ride and it's the very top row of the ride. And that kind of ensures that the projections you're seeing aren't kind of curved or skewed by the curve of the screen.
That's right. Yeah. Great seats. Excellent. And Disney knows that people will be requesting that, so don't feel bad for doing it. It's your day. It's your vacation. Request what you want. It's absolutely up to you. After that, we checked out the new Creations store within Epcot, which is beautiful. Absolutely a beautiful gift shop.
So great to see Epcot-specific merch. You know, for so long, I feel like Epcot just had merch that you could find anywhere in the parks, which is totally fine. That's the case with a lot of stores throughout Walt Disney World. But it's so great to see that kind of Epcot forward, very kind of crisp, a lot of white, a lot of reflective merchandise produced just for that park.
I would even say fashion-forward items from Epcot.
Ooh, a little fashion moment.
Yas, queen. Yas, queen. Fun fact, the longest line we saw that day was for Club Cool.
Which, you know, Club Cool has its time and place, but I'm not going to spend 30 minutes in line for Club Cool.
You do you. Everybody, you do you. But we did us, and we did not do that.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, we did have the pass for Remy's Ratatouille Adventure. So kind of late morning-ish, our queue spot opened up and we were able to head back to the France Pavilion and experience the brand new attraction, Remy's Ratatouille Adventure. Patrick, give us your thoughts.
Surpassed my expectations is what I would say. First of all, the outdoor part of the queue, absolutely adorable with that little fountain there. We know, Adam, how much you love a water feature. So great. So beautiful. The queue inside had gasp-worthy moments of a reveal that was absolutely delightful to see. And then the ride itself is so charming, so exciting, so sweet, so unexpected. I was blown away. I think it is a magical, much-needed addition to the World Showcase.
Couldn't have said it better myself, Patrick. There is real magic in that attraction. You are dealing with screens and you are dealing with 3D, but the amount of practical effects also going on around you, it's just overwhelming and phenomenal.
Yeah, the art direction and the set design behind that attraction is award-worthy. It's so beautiful, so intricate, so detailed, so expansive. I have no idea how they pulled this off because it's absolutely stunning, and it seems to be enormous, and we all know how big that building is. It isn't as enormous as it seems, which is true Disney magic.
And you know how the 3D in the parks can be kind of hit or miss? This was crystal clear, wonderfully executed. There were times where we were screaming, laughing, and just like almost in tears because of how erratic and manic the ride is. Like, it really does kind of put you through it in the most wonderful way.
I absolutely forgot that we even had 3D glasses on.
Yeah, you kind of lose your awareness of that fact, and you are just totally immersed in that world. It's a fantastic addition to World Showcase. You're all going to love it when you get to experience it.
Yes, let us know your thoughts on that attraction as well. We certainly loved it. After that, we rat-tailed it out of Remy's Ratatouille Adventure and started our adventure around World Showcase.
We met some new friends. We had a delightful lunch at Via Napoli.
Delightful lunch. It was a perfect experience with perfect service. We absolutely ordered our food, which is
Yes.
fine. Hard not to do. Hard not to do there, but it was great. It was delicious. Everybody, Via Napoli is a place to be seen within the World Showcase.
Isn't it just? We had a melon and prosciutto pizza, and it was everything.
It was a showstopper for sure. We also had the classic picante pizza as well, but I think we all agreed at the table that the melon and prosciutto pizza was a must-have when you're there.
Get your fruits and vegetables, kids, and that's one way to do it.
That was the only salad I had on the entire trip, was on top of a pizza.
Again, really excellent service there. Patrick, do you remember our server's name?
Are you testing me right now, or are you actually asking me? Because I believe it was Chiara?
That sounds right, yes.
Chiara, who, again, I believe was from Rome.
Fantastic server, so delightful, and again, just, as we say in the Midwest, a hoot.
She was a hoot and a holler.
So after that delightful lunch, we continued our way around World Showcase. We did a little Frozen.
We did a little Frozen. It was, as usual, a great ride. This was maybe our longest queue for an attraction on the entire trip, I would say.
Yeah, probably, like 45 minutes, would you say?
Yeah, I think so. And again, that queue is so lovely and delightful and air-conditioned to the gods that it didn't matter.
Not one bit. And then eventually, this will shock all of you, I'm sure, Patrick and I found our way over to Abracadabar on the boardwalk.
And really, we did sort of find our way there because, listen, folks, I won't lie about it. We were a few cocktails in at this point around the World Showcase. We sent out the call to our friends that we were heading over to Abracadabar, and soon a group of 4 turned into what felt like a group of 45.
We had the most amazing experience there. We had some delightful drinks. There were so many of our friends who we've met via the podcast who joined us there, and we just had the best conversation. We actually rope dropped Abracadabar as we arrived about 10 minutes early. So it was just a really great way to spend the afternoon.
We did indeed. We hung out with many people, including, I should say, JT and Melanie from the Disney Buzz podcast, which you should all start listening to, and some of their friends. They were delightful as per usual. We hung out in that little sort of living room area within Abracadabar, which is so comfy. So many couches and stools and chairs to sit by. It's a real mix and mingle kind of a bar.
So after that, we met up with some of our travel companions who had gone back for a break kind of midday. We met them at the International Gateway. We made another stop at the Creations Shop because we wanted to do some more shopping. And then, of course, we had to take in Epcot's new nighttime spectacular, Harmonious.
We sure did. We were given the hot tip by a couple of people, actually, to stand sort of near the American pavilion, right?
That's right. We ended up kind of between the American Adventure and the Japan Pavilion. And I think it really does behoove you, if you're planning on watching Harmonious, to either be in that location or to be on the exact opposite side. So your back is to Spaceship Earth looking out over World Showcase Lagoon, because there's that kind of Stargate, as Melanie called it, that circular kind of feature in the middle of the lagoon, and you're going to want to see that kind of dead on from you.
You are going to want to see that, assuming you have not had too many cocktails in which you can't see anything at all. Just kidding. Adam, your thoughts on Harmonious?
I really liked it. I thought this was a stronger show compared to Disney Enchantment. Probably not fair to compare them, because this one is like World of Color at DCA on steroids. Like, they really went above and beyond and really raised their game when it came to what a nighttime spectacular could be. Now, yes, you are dealing with those, Patrick, you call them the Transformers in the World Showcase Lagoon during the day. So you are kind of aware of those during the day, but what they offer during the nighttime spectacular kind of surpasses maybe their ugliness during the day.
No, they're so ugly. I don't know.
It's true. They're just not that attractive. You're right. But as Chris from Wishful Thinking kind of very smartly pointed out after the fact, he said, and you, Patrick, you kind of referenced this for Disney Enchantment as well, this is Disney doing art. And I thought that was such a perfect way to kind of sum up Harmonious, because it is more abstract, and the renditions that you hear of classic Disney music are so wonderful. They've got a great new global spin on them, and I think it really does kind of fit the theme of the World Showcase in Epcot. They found a way to kind of Mary IP and the message of the World Showcase in Epcot.
Yeah, I would say for my money, this is the nighttime spectacular to see if you want to see a Disney nighttime spectacular done well. It is an aggressive nighttime spectacular in a great way, though. Yeah,
the kind of overall message for it is calling out to one another via music and kind of finding one another via song, which I thought was a great kind of message, especially in these times. I thought they could have even pushed it maybe just a little bit further and celebrating how we're connected via music, maybe just with a bit more narration or something like that. But the renditions you're going to hear are really beautiful. There are times I thought when it was a bit cacophonous, like there were people singing in the languages from the areas where these stories take place, and they did a kind of great call and response in English and then like in French or in Chinese. But at times I thought, and this could be related to the sound system in World Showcase, I thought it was a little bit harder to decipher what we were supposed to be hearing. It just kind of sounded a bit too much, in my opinion. But I think that maybe could be corrected by putting speakers behind people on the World Showcase promenade. The impression I got was that the speakers were just kind of located in front of you, and sometimes it was difficult to hear what was going on.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think my one note would be that I wanted to just be, again, blown away by the sound. Because the visuals were blowing us away. I just needed the sound to match what we were seeing.
Yeah, but a lot of really fun sequences. The Lion King sequence was so great. The Saludos Amigos and Coco sequence was like out of this world. That was probably the best part of the whole show. The Princess and the Frog sequence was dig a little deeper. That was great. A little great gospel moment in the show. And then the show ends, surprisingly, I thought, with the song Someday, which was cut from The Hunchback of Notre Dame, the animated movie. It's actually featured in the musical, the stage musical. And I thought it would have been really interesting if they had bookended the show with that song, because it's so beautiful. So if they had kind of like started the show with that song, or like kind of referenced that it was going to be happening later and then ended the show with that song, I think it would have made it just that much more stronger and kind of emotionally connected an experience for those watching.
For sure. Yeah, totally agree. I would say I am very excited to see this again because, as I understand it, they are still making tweaks to it here and there and sort of enhancing it a little bit and just adjusting it so it's pitch perfect for everybody. So I will be sure to report back on my January trip to see if it was any different or any better or if it was just as magical as it was this time around.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear about your second viewing of it. And I went back and watched it on a YouTube video too this past week, and it really is just something spectacular. And I hope that the guests in Epcot really appreciate the amount of work that went into that.
I hope so too. Yeah, I imagine they will. People seem to just be loving it. Everyone around us was having a wonderful time. So I imagine that is the case. Which brings us to the end of our Epcot journey. Adam, we somehow found our way home via the Skyway. I imagine. I don't know. Maybe some of us walked. Who knows? Who can remember?
We were going to take Skyliner, but we were there for park close, and it was about 45-minute wait for Skyliner at that point. So we ended up just walking to the boardwalk and grabbing an Uber from there.
Ah, yes. I keep calling it the Skyway, but yeah, the Skyliner. A magical evening. Probably the most time we spent with the most amount of people, which made it such a wonderful experience that Epcot day. Which then brings us, we're rounding the corner to the end of our trip on our very last day within the Disney parks. That was Hollywood Studios Day.
That's right. And again, we got there 30 minutes early because we were resort guests, so we were able to enter early. And we hightailed it to Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, which I had not experienced. My partner Matthew had not experienced. And your husband Dan also had not experienced it, Patrick.
True story. I know this is repeating itself, but we got right on the attraction, actually. We got there before it even opened, and so we were kind of first in line to see the attraction that day. Adam, thoughts of Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway?
I mean, it's like beating a dead horse at this point because everyone's commented on it, but is that not the most perfect attraction for that space? It is so charming. I immediately wanted to rewrite it again after getting off of it because there's so much to see. The song is fantastic. The pre-show, the way you get on the ride is so magical. I loved every single thing about it. It is a real achievement in Imagineering, and I hope it just stands the test of time because it is, again, just perfect for that spot.
Yeah, the one thing I do wish is that we had gone on it one more time because we could have. We just decided not to. But you do get a different experience depending on which train car you sit in. So I would love to give you that gift of seeing it again in a different location. But it's great. Yeah, charming is the only word I can ever think of for the ride, but it's not the right word. It's just it's charming plus, you know?
Charming plus, absolutely, because it's not just a dark ride. Like you think of dark rides, you kind of think of a smaller experience, but this is so grand, and the magic that's happening all around you is so immersive and so incredible. I can't wait to get back on it on my next trip.
Yeah, it's exciting to see the evolution of what dark rides are becoming because they are so much more advanced than what they were even 2-3 years ago. It's really beautiful to see.
After that, as you can imagine, we found our way back to Galaxy's Edge and were able to do Star Wars Rise of the Resistance with about, like an hour wait?
If that, I don't know, because so much of it is just that queue is so long, but it never really stopped moving is the thing. We did enter the queue at the very tail end of it. In fact, we entered it through Muppet's courtyard, basically. Yeah. But it never stopped moving. So if it was an hour, it didn't seem like it because there was constantly something new to look at while you're getting on the attraction.
That's a great point. I think I did kind of overshoot how long we were actually in line. But again, we're hanging out with people that we love and we love chatting with them. So it probably just whizzed by. But again, an incredible experience. It was Dan, your husband Dan's first time riding Rise of the Resistance. He seemed to love it.
He loved it. Yeah, he's not the biggest Star Wars fan in the entire world, especially compared to you and your brother or even to me, but he really liked it. It's a ride that you don't have to know much about Star Wars to understand the magic that's happening on this attraction. It was actually his first time within Galaxy's Edge in general as well.
That's right. And we got to treat him to an Oga's Cantina experience as well.
That's right. We went to Oga's Cantina, which is just delightful and fun as usual. We also had some blue milk that day. He'd never had that. It was great. It was a lovely experience in Galaxy's Edge. And we also had breakfast there, too. We had the Ronto Wrap breakfast.
God, we did a lot in that very short morning.
We did a ton. We did a ton within like an hour, which then brought us to lunch at the Sci-Fi Dine-In.
Always a great experience. I believe it made both of our lists for Fab 5 themed dining, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. It is such a wonderful experience, really a show and a meal. The one miss for this is that they took away a lot of the group dining tables. There were only a couple that I could see within the restaurant. Mm-hmm. So we were all sort of sitting in rows behind each other. So we didn't really have a conversational lunch. We just all sort of sat in pairs and ate near each other.
Now, see, I found that as a benefit because I was just like, shut up.
Fair. That is fair. Absolutely fair. They sat us the furthest apart, which was a good idea.
No, you're right. It would have been great to have been able to kind of like converse over lunch. But again, a great little break from that hot Florida sun and humidity. And it's so quiet in there. It really does kind of recharge you as you're eating to tackle the rest of the park when you get out. True story. Yeah, we felt very refreshed and recharged after that. And smartly, we filled our tum-tums with food and then went on the Tower of Terror. You got to do it, folks. Don't do that on an empty tummy.
No, you want to expel as much as you can while you're on that ride.
And after that, we hitched a ride on Rock and Roller Coaster. And then we kind of wrapped up our day in Hollywood Studios because we both had separate events that we needed to get to that evening.
Absolutely. Yeah, again, both of those rides, incidentally, were walk-on attractions. Once again, I know you're tired of hearing it, and who knows if it's that way now, but every single thing we did was just magically short wait times. And yeah, we left the park at around, what would you say, 4:30?
I think even earlier than that, like I want to say 3, yeah.
That sounds about right. Doing all the things that we really had on our wish list within Hollywood Studios, save for we didn't really venture into Toy Story Land, but that's okay. We can do that another time. But you had to go to a different park. You cheated on Disney during your vacation.
That's right. I headed off to Universal Orlando to do Halloween Horror Nights, which was terrifying as always, completely lost my voice. And Patrick, you and Dan headed to Disney Springs, right?
That's right. We continued our Disney adventure. We went back to the resort for a little bit of a nap and a respite, and then we met our dear friends, our Canadian Tweedles, Nick and Dave, for dinner at Haleo within Disney Springs. I had never been there. I don't think any of us had ever been there. It is the Jose Andres restaurant within Disney Springs. And I'll tell you what, I think I texted you after the meal and said, this is a new must-do when you're at Disney for dinner.
Is it tapas?
It is. It is a tapas restaurant, meaning small plates and shareable if you want them to be. They had a sort of prefix menu if you wanted to, which was the best deal I've ever seen within Disney. I don't know if they always have it, but they had it that night. For $37, we each got, I think, 4 or 5 tapas that came to our table per person. And then you could add on a wine pairing for that as well. We were stuffed to the brim at the end of the meal. And our server, I'm so sorry, I cannot remember his name, but he was so great and so gracious, kept bringing us extras as well. Like the chef wanted you to try this as well. And so we felt very cared for while we were there. And every single thing we ate was spectacularly delicious.
I can't wait to go. Yeah, you had a rave review of it, and it sounds like it was a perfect way to kind of wrap up your trip for the 50th.
100%. Can't recommend it enough. It is delicious. Go to Haleo.
And with that succinct 4-hour trip report, we've covered almost every single thing we did for our trip to Walt Disney World for the 50th anniversary. So the question now becomes, Patrick, what were the highs and what were the lows for you on this trip?
I think hands down, Adam, the highs were always people related, right?
Yeah.
I think my 2 favorite moments of the trip, maybe I'll say 3 favorite moments, were all around dining as well. I really loved our first dinner at Tiffin's. I think it was such a wonderful, magical, just great way to reconnect with some friends that we haven't seen in so long. I'm talking about, really, and having that really wonderful dinner and just reigniting what makes us friends, right? It was just such a magical moment. And then, of course, Abracadabar, meeting so many new people and just hanging out and having a great time. It felt like we were in college again or something, just being silly together, having a wonderful time, moving around, shuffling seats, and having new conversations. I think we were there for 26 hours. I don't really know. The bill was quite high, but worth every penny, absolutely. And then I will say, I think capping off the entire trip with me and my husband Dan and Nick and Dave from Canada at Haleo, just having a quiet, casual, comforting meal together, reconnecting and saying goodbye until we meet again in January. It was a great way to end the trip. What about you?
My highs were definitely, like you said, just associated with people and food. I think that lunch at Via Napoli was fantastic. We were just like crying, laughing, a lot of it. Particularly because Bart kept showing us these images from a very inappropriate Instagram account that he follows. And it's like, we're in a Disney restaurant. Can you please put your phone down? Anyway, that was delightful. The food was great. The service was great. And we were just having a great time together. Yeah. And then, as you mentioned, Abracadabar, there was just something so special about those hours we spent there. In fact, there was one moment where you looked over at me and it was just you and I, and we kind of connected, and you said, "This is great." Like, you just looked at me and said, "This moment is so great." And I totally agree. That was such a special afternoon.
Yeah, it really and truly was. It's cliche, but the people made our entire trip worth the expense and the time planning and all of it. It was wonderful, and I wouldn't have changed much, if anything, on this trip.
Well, funny you should bring that up. Is there anything you would have changed? Was there a low for you on this trip?
Great question yet again. I don't know if I would call this a low, but I did. This sounds very, I don't know, entitled or privileged. I did expect just a little bit more magic on the 50th anniversary day. I cannot say that we had a bad day by any stretch of the imagination, but as I said before, I think we made our day magical, right? We all made that happen because of the decisions that we made and the things that we did and the people that we were with. Disney did not provide a thank you for being in the park on the 50th anniversary, and maybe they didn't need to, and that's fine. But I expected them to, just something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally agree. There needed to be just that one special little moment or thing that happened that really did kind of reach out to the guests that were there and say, thank you for being a part of this experience. We're so grateful that you've really made Walt Disney World a part of your family's history by, you know, coming year after year or having multiple trips and celebrating the kind of magic that we create.
Yeah, that's a great point. It really is the people and the fans who are the reason that Disney exists, and the reason that Walt Disney World can still operate is that because people invest in being a part of Disney and invest their family in being a part of Disney. And it would have been just such an easy thing to do, to give everybody a pin or something just to say thank you for being a part of our family.
Instead, we gave people pins.
We made the magic happen for everybody. Anything else? Anything that was just sort of that seems like a miss, or even more dramatically a letdown?
This is a very minor issue, and I hesitate to even bring it up, but I was experiencing, and I know Paul and Bart were as well, issues with the Magic Mobile service on our phones. It just didn't seem to be integrated as well as it needed to be. And I know in my case, in my partner Matthew's case, we ended up getting the cards, the physical cards, because things were just not working as they should be. And it's just a bit disappointing, you know, that first day at Animal Kingdom to like be ready to go, to be there and to be allowed into the park 30 minutes early. And then once you try to like sign in, it doesn't read. And so then you're kind of standing there for 10 minutes waiting for someone to bring you a card. You know, it's just not a great way to kick off the trip. But hopefully Disney will be able to kind of rectify that and come up with a better experience on the app overall.
Yeah, Dan experienced the same thing. He had the Magic Mobile app ready to go, and it just was not working for him at all locations. Sometimes it worked, and sometimes it didn't. So we made sure, as you guys did, to get that card, because the last thing you want is to enter Magic Kingdom on the 50th anniversary and not be able to get in.
Yeah, so that's a great tip for anyone listening now that has a trip upcoming. Just grab the card right away when you get to your resort and make sure that you have that in your back pocket as a backup if you do plan to use the Magic Mobile service.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's overall, tech was just a little off during our trip. I think we all at one point tried to use the shop app as well, where you can just scan an item, pay for it, and leave the store. And it worked sometimes and didn't work sometimes. So that was a little bit of a miss. But that being said, if that's the one thing that we have to be not upset about, but just let down a little bit about, then great. Successful trip.
Totally agree. And we want to hear from you. If you were there for the 50th, how was your experience? How has your experience been in the parks? Have you been experiencing low wait times? Have you had relatively pleasant days? We want to know everything. And you can tell us everything by reaching out to us on social media. That's Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at GDTD Podcast.
Or you can let us know via email or voice memo at info@gaysdothed.com. And I also want to say, I should have said this at the beginning of our trip report, but thank you again to everyone that we met within the parks. We simply met so many people, and we didn't name every single person that we came in contact with or that we shared a drink or a meal with, but you made our trip so special. So thank you. It was such a pleasure to share this experience with all of you.
Last question, Patrick.
Yes.
Do you regret getting into that fight on Main Street USA over that tumbler?
I regret nothing. I said what I said. I did what I did. And that little girl will remember this moment for the rest of her life. You know?
Hey, Patrick.
Hey, Adam.
We've reached the end of this whirlwind episode, our recap to Walt Disney World for the 50th anniversary, and that means it's time for Quick D.
It is time, everybody. You've been waiting for it. You missed Quick D last week. You were all disappointed, but here we are to calm your nerves.
People really do live and die by Quick D, don't they?
They plan their lives accordingly, that's for sure.
That's just as it should be. This week, we're going to be doing Quick D Classic. That means Patrick and I are going to be asking each other a question we have not been privy to prior to recording, and we're going to answer it off the cuff.
Off the 50th anniversary cuff.
I have a question for you. You have a question for me. Who's going to give their question first?
Such a great question. Is that your question for me?
That's it. Isn't this a great quickie?
And that's Quickie, everybody. Thank you. Thank you. Listen, I can ask you first. I'm ready to go. I'm hoping really just to steal your question because we both just come up with our own questions.
We certainly did. I wouldn't be shocked if we have the same question. Lay it on me.
Adam, as we talked about in the news, Magic Band Plus is on the horizon. We gave some sneak peeks as to what you can expect for Magic Band Plus, but there's more. Oh yes, there's more. As with anything within a Disney park, there's a hidden Gaze Do the D option within the Magic Band Plus experience. What do these options provide for you while you're in the Disney parks, Adam?
All right. First, I'd like to say we do not have the same question, so good for us.
Good for us.
Those Magic Band Pluses, though. Magic Band Pluses? Is that what we're calling them? Sure.
Magic's Band Plus? I don't know. What's the plural?
Magic's Band Plus. Yes, that is the plural. They're going to have so many wonderful features, but you're right. There are going to be specifically some GDTD features built into it, because if there's one thing that Patrick and I are known for, it's our ability to sneak in secret tech into Disney merchandise.
Like so many Russian hackers, we too are able to infiltrate Disney tech.
Das Vedanya, indeed. Okay, so people claim they have gaydar, but no. Magic Band Plus will have its own built-in gaydar. So if you are within 2 feet of a gay, it'll ping.
I love this. I love this idea. I love the many directions it could go in, for sure.
It's going to ping, it's going to vibrate, and I'm not talking about the Magic Band. Hey-o!
Hey-o!
Another special feature provided to park guests, just from us. If you flip open the cap of the Magic Band Plus, there's a secret stash of whiskey built right into it for emergencies.
I like it. Just a little shot to help you get you through your day.
We all have those moments where we're like, this is where I officially lose it. And that's when you're going to want to pop open that band cap and just take a little swig.
It's our version of a magic shot.
Yes, exactly. And last but not least, GDTD is going to be providing all park guests who choose to purchase the Magic Band the very special feature of the greatest hits of disco built in to the band.
I love this idea. Here's why I love it, because this comes into play of something that you talked about on our trip, where you can just put it down in a Skyliner car and have a disco party right there in the sky.
Why wouldn't you want that on your trip? At any given moment, you could be doing the hustle. You could be having your last dance. You could be celebrating with the village people. All of these are now Disney IP.
I love it. I love the ABBA option.
I can't even say that. The ABBA option.
The option.
Yeah, so really you have no excuse but to completely enjoy yourself in the parks if you do purchase that Magic Band Plus, and you can thank us for making your trip just that much more magical.
And we will in return say, I know.
And where's our cut of those sales, Disney?
We're never going to see a penny of that. That's for sure.
Not a single cent. All right, Patrick, here's my question for you. We just recapped our trip to Walt Disney World for the 50th anniversary. Give me a highlight or two of our trip to Walt Disney World for the 100th anniversary.
Oh, the highlight will be our hips working at all. Just being able to walk will be a highlight for me, I imagine.
It's 2 highlights if both of our hips work, yeah.
I love this. I loved the enhancement that they've offered us, where you too can be Tinkerbell flying from Cinderella Castle.
Oh, no. Can you imagine 2 geriatric gays flying out of that castle dressed as Tinkerbell?
Can't recommend standing underneath it. Really can't. Can't recommend it. That will do it for this episode of Gaze Do the D. Thanks for listening. To become a patron of the podcast, visit our website at gazedothed.com/donate. For a donation of any amount, you can receive exclusive Gaze Do the D content and help us continue to bring you the very best Disney news and discussion. Continue the conversation after this episode on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at GDTD Podcast. Submit your questions or show ideas to info@gazedothed.com. Have a great week, everybody. See ya real soon.